Welcome to the Kingdom Business Forum, a program where we inspire believers in business to advance the kingdom through their business platform. I'm Vicki Norris.
I'm Patrice Sage.
Now, I met Patrice when I went through his Biblical Entrepreneurship Training Program. It personally transformed me and my business. And now I operate with the kingdom in mind. That's why I'm excited about doing this program to bring you kingdom principles for your business. Now this month, January, is Get Organized Month. We've had an incredible month learning about the importance of ordering your life, which is, of course,
I'm learning about organizing.
what I'm just passionate about. So I can talk about it all year, but people are probably already sick of us. So yeah, it's been Get Organized Month, and we've been having a good time together.
No, it's been good. You know, Vicki, I'm so glad we did this. Even though this is our last show on this is something we should do every year. Because what you were able to do in the last month, it not only allowed for our listeners, because all year round, you are highlighting everybody else. It allowed our listeners to really get to discover Vicki Norris. But more important than that, I think it was a wonderful time to really really be showered on the knowledge and wisdom about this whole idea of organization. Today, our focus is going to be on actually you and the business. You know, we've done a show on you teaching us about how to order our lives. We've talked about the books you've authored. We've highlighted some clients that have experienced your services to see how it's impacted their businesses or their lives. And so today I want to focus on exactly how Vicki came to be and how she's come to build this company and and where it's going and so forth. Back here, viewers, listeners can't see it, but you can go to our Kingdom Business Forum Facebook fan page if you want to see what I'm pointing out to right now. We have in the back of us, we have some products that have been developed by Vicki. Vicki, tell us a bit about those products before we start.
So my husband and I have developed a line of branded organizing products.
This is our own product
collection,
line.
Right? It's branded Restoring Order. And so there are 8 products in the collection, Patrice, so we're showing some of them here. And what they are is they're desktop organizing products. We never brought a product to market unless we could improve upon what was out in the marketplace. And they all are birthed out of my pet peeves. So the first thing that I found was that people needed a good product for managing paper. And what we have is the nasty stacking black plastic trays. That's what people generally use. They crack, they break, they sag. There's no place for a label. So that's where I started, was creating a paper sorter, and we call it the Action Center. And so it has removable trays and drawers. You can customize it to your own system. And all of our products are made out of lightweight aluminum that are powder coated. And they all have kind of a 40s flair. Like I wanted them to look retro.
Did your husband make them here, or
no? He doesn't make them anymore. At first, when we began, in the prototyping stage, we filled our entire garage with sheet metal equiment. So Restoring Order bought lathes and sheet metal cutters, and I mean, you wouldn't even believe what my garage looked like. And so we went through R&D for about 3 years and developed these products, and now they are manufactured here in Oregon, actually in Wilsonville, but they're still a boutique product. We're not out in the stores. We sell them via our consulting channel, and we sell them via e-commerce on our website at restoringorder.com. Then the next pet peeve was, those incline sorters that are wire, and they sit on your desk and they hold file folders. I just think they're junky. They don't expand. And so all of our products are kind of like made out of the tackle box mentality, where you can move the parts in a tackle box and build it just how you want it. And so our products have removable parts, so you can customize it to your own use. So we have a project center that replaces the old incline sorter. And then we have something called the Essential Center, which is for supplies. It's for people who basically maybe either work on a table or they need something under their monitor to organize their supplies, their computer monitor. We have a pencil station, a journal case, a rubbish bin, and then all of these products are intended to be lifetime products, whereas how you go through office products, toss them. We think that's wasteful. We wanted to build a lifetime product.
Wow. Now, Vicki, again, I want to just highlight some of the things that you've done that somebody may be watching this show for the first time this month and have seen you on Kingdom Business Forum, but don't realize that Kingdom Business Forum was not the first time you've done television. You've been doing television for over 10 years. One of the key highlights, you were on HDTV Mission Organizing. You've also, of course, of the two books, we talked about it, but then you are the president and found this company called Restoring Order.
Right.
Now we are here at Dream Acres. Again, to our listeners, real quick, what is Dream Acres? Why Dream Acres?
We live in Sherwood, Oregon, Patrice, and actually Dream Acres is a 5-acre parcel out here in pastoral Sherwood, and my parents live next door in the adjoining 5 acres, so that's why we call it Dream Acres, because my little boys get to grow up next door to their grandma and grandpa, and so that's a huge thrill for us. But then also, this is also the international headquarters of Restoring Order. We have 2 conference facilities on our homestead property. We have a barn in which it's an event facility that we do large events for up to 100 people, and then we're sitting in our small conference room where we can do trainings. I teach biblical entrepreneurship right in this room, and I do paper management trainings, organizing and clutter workshops here on site. That's Dream Acres.
Your staff comes here every week. This is where your offices are as well.
We also have offices here in this facility, and this is the main headquarters.
Tell me something. Most people have a home office by default because they cannot afford a physical external office. You have an home office by choice.
That's right.
You've invested in building infrastructure that will give you a home base mixed with office. Tell us about that.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point. I don't know. I would guess that some of our listeners can imagine this, but I run my business, Restoring Order, and my husband Trevor actually takes care of our boys. So we kind of have reverse roles, and we have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and so I'm a mommy of young boys, and so I was not about to miss out on that while I was building my business and go, drive downtown somewhere. So we like country living, and we believe that rules were meant to be broken. We believe in living really what I teach, which is a life of order and priorities and simplicity and really aligning with your calling. And so we've done just that.
And that's part of why you have this base here. So Vicki, essentially, as Restoring Order grows, you don't foresee the office relocating. This is kind of Dream Acres is here to stay.
Dream Acres is here to stay. When we go global, we'll talk about it, okay? How about that?
Is it, for many people who dream of a Dream Acre, how is the dynamic having the offices, conferences, and then you go, a couple of doors down and the little boys are there?
It works well for me. As you know me to be, I'm a very disciplined person, a very self-motivated person. Having a home office isn't for everyone. I do have a separate building that we're in that is my home office. It's separated by 2 sets of doors. It's not like it's next to the TV room. You know what I'm saying? And we do have a separate facility that's very professional that our guests can come to. And so we want people to feel a sense of hospitality here. And I will say that Trevor is an employee of my company, and he helps with everything. He makes coffee for workshops. He is totally involved in everything we do.
And this morning he helped set up before he even left.
That's right.
Now, tell us, Vicki, many people want to aspire to get to where you've gotten in building a company and being a professional speaker, having a dream maker. How did it start? At which point did that genesis, that seed of entrepreneurship birth into your heart?
Well, I was raised by an entrepreneur,
yes.
And I'm originally from Anchorage, Alaska, and my dad lives up there, and he has a money management firm out of Alaska. And so I've grown up with entrepreneurism just being a way of life. And he's weathered a lot of storms, and I've seen all of them. And so I've just always believed that anything was possible for me. And so I began my business in 1999, and it really was birthed out of a conversation with friends who said, what you'd be really good at? And I thought, well, is that really even a profession, And then when I told my parents, they said, professional organizing, do you need to move back home? Are you serious? Is this a real job?
So wait a minute. So, okay, you grew up as an entrepreneur, but yet the seed of, so entrepreneurship was already in you, but the idea of organizing business, something that friends that's interesting.
Yeah,
what was it about you that made him think that you could be an organizer or do this?
I guess I just wear it on my sleeve. Patrice,
I know, you just need all the way through. Is that what it is?
You know, I just, I mean, it really, so many things about in my life have just come prophetically to me. I mean, I grew up with entrepreneurism. I was in nonprofit ministry actually for 3 years. Not a lot of people know that, where it was an equipping lifestyle evangelism ministry. So I've always had a heart for equipping people, equipping the saints. And then I went into real estate for 5.5 years, and I thought, well, I can do this, but I don't want to do this. I can run a business, but not this business. And so I thought, okay, well, what would I want to do? What would I do with my eyes closed? What do I dream? What do I enjoy doing in downtime? I love to bring order to things. What if I love to see things restored to their original purpose?
Wow. So you grew up in an entrepreneur family. You kind of do some things in ministry, have a real estate business. You're going through, and then you kind of asking yourself the question, what you really were saying, what is my call, what is my passion? What is that thing? What am I wired to do?
That's right. And what I've since learned, Patrice, is that I think I got into organizing because I've always loved to do it, and it was a physical manifestation. It was a forerunner. It was a forerunner of what was to come.
Now, most people who are in organizing, they're consultants. One person practice.
Right.
There may be speakers, there may be authors, but you took it a step further. You actually built a company around it. Now, tell us about that transition.
So there's the National Association of Professional Organizers, believe it or not. For those of you who've never heard of professional organizing, you're thinking, what? And when I got into it in 1999, there was maybe 1,000 people, and now there's over 5,000 people who are across the country into professional organizing. And you're right, it's a cottage industry. It's kind of along the lines of life coaching and feng shui consulting. And, you know, there's a lot of consultants, a lot of decorators, a lot of people out there, but there's no real standardization or professionalism for the industry. And what I wanted to do is professionalize professional organizing. And also, I faced a practical bandwidth issue that many of you have faced as business people, which is you get to a certain point and you're so booked, you can't get anyone in your schedule for 2 months. And I don't know what you know about being disorganized, but when people pick up the phone and they raise their white surrender flag and they call us and they say, help, my business is losing opportunities. We're losing money. We're chaotic. We can't find anything. And they pick up the phone and they call us. They want to be served right now. Not, you know, next quarter. Thank you very much. So I had to make a decision about whether I was going to raise my rates really high and just stay myself as a consultant and only take the clients I wanted, or whether I was going to replicate myself and really create a business model. And that's what I chose to do. And it is, I mean, it was all an uphill curve. I mean, you learn as you go. Wow. And I had to have a training program once I decided to hire my first professional organizer. Wow. I had to have an employee manual the minute I made someone an employee. I had to create an entity of a little limited liability company. I mean, everyone who's been through this transition knows what I'm talking about.
Now, somebody listen to you, they can say, well, it's easy for you. You had a dad entrepreneur. Did that hold you along that process? No. Or you were kind of out there, besides the DNA and the fact that you kind of grew up in it, you were kind of out there on your own.
I was out there on my own. And you know, one of the things about, I think that's really important for kingdom people to understand is that this is where we need to get around other kingdom-minded people. Because you can't go where God wants to take you when you're completely all out there by yourself. And so I did kind of have to learn as I went. But man, I sure wish I would have had people. I wish I would have known you, Patrice, and your business entrepreneurship program before I really started my business. Because I think a lot of people get into business that just think, oh, I'm good at organizing, therefore I'll start a business doing it, when in fact I was built to run a business. Wow. And but I discovered that as I went. I thought I was an organizer, and I can organize things and people and systems, but what I really discovered is I'm a businesswoman. Wow.
Now, Vicki, again, hopefully your dad won't watch this, but let me say this. Your dad is an entrepreneur.
That's right.
But he's a secular entrepreneur. You know, he's religious, but not a born-again believer as those of us who claim to be that. So you in your journey, you could have chosen to live off of dad because he's a wealthy man, but you chose to forsake kind of that whole, what dad has done, to chart your own territory. Was that difficult? And the challenge of being a light with that kind of model that says, yes, we have success, we have all the trappings. And so how was that process for you?
You know, this might surprise you, but it was kind of a non-issue. I mean, really, as, you know, being believer in business, and really being raised by an entrepreneur, part of entrepreneurism, at least in the family I was raised, is you figure things out. That's part of what being an entrepreneur is. You don't wait around for someone else to hold your hand. You don't sit there and, as you say, consume. You don't just feed off other people. You stand up and lead. If there's no one leading, you lead. And you figure it out. And if you need to acquire resources, you acquire resources. So it never would have occurred to me. I'm just not that kind of person where I would have been wanting to, swing in on someone else's coattails. In fact, I find that very annoying. I mean, I guess being raised by a self-made man made me a self-made woman.
And, Dad would be proud.
And I don't mean that God didn't lead me to where I am.
That's right.
But it never would have occurred to me to try to have someone else help me get here.
And the reason I'm saying it is because you had a choice. But you had a choice, but the choice you made was that which you were designed to make, which is chart you on a chart. Now, tell our listeners, what is Restoring Order?
Restoring Order is an organizing services and products company. Okay. And so in 1999, it first began as consulting. And then very soon, when I met Trevor, it evolved into a products company. And we birthed 8 products. Those were our first 8 children. And man, that's a process in itself, having to get patents and trademarks and, invest in intellectual property. And I built that portfolio. And then along came speaking. And actually, that probably came a little bit before products. People said, could you come speak for our group? Because, man, we desperately need to get organized. Sure. And so one of my beliefs all along is just to say yes. When God opens the door, say yes. Don't live in fear, live in faith. Step out into it. And I remember when I did my first TV show here locally, they called me and they said, would you come and do this makeover? I said, sure. So I went and did it. And of course, TV doesn't pay anything locally. So you go and you do this, and it takes tons of time. And then what I did after that is I picked up the phone and I called them back and I said, well, that went really well. Let's do something else. So I pursued what God was naturally laying in front of me and what I felt like I was good at. But I remember specifically that second TV show I was on, I was wearing a skirt and my knees were knocking. And I was so glad nobody could see that. But you just stand up and do what God has laid before you to do, because that's being grateful for what he's given you.
Now, one of the things you did along the way is you branded the company Vicki Norris Restoring Order.
That was very purposeful.
Let's talk about branding here for a minute. Again, what made you do that, and what lessons can our viewers learn and listeners learn from that process? Because you have a very strong brand here in the Northwest.
Patrice, I wrote in 2005. I landed a book deal. I had 2 books coming, and so as I began to write the books, I instantly realized that 3 things would happen. 1, people nationally would want to be trained to be professional organizers by me. 2, they would want to hire me to speak. And 3, they would, very likely want to hire our company in different states. So a few things happened. And then 2, I realized that when people were trying to find me, and I was going on these national media tours and up to Canada and being on Christian TV, the 700 Club and so forth, I knew that people would probably be Googling Vicki Norris, right? So what I wanted to do was hybridize Vicki Norris's Restoring Order and marry them together. And so that's what I did in advance of my books even being released, is we rebranded the company Vicki Norris's Restoring Order. We actually, when the books came out in print, they had in back how you could link to all those different 3 things I talked about. Whether you want to hire me or hire us or become a professional organizer, we created an international actually referral network, because we knew that when people saw me on TV in Canada, they'd say, get me an organizer in Winnipeg. And I would say, well, that's a long way for me to fly, especially since I'm pregnant, right? So we had to develop this international referral network.
One of the things that's a gift for you is you're able to see opportunity. And that's evidence with that. You're able to see something and see potential in it, even when it doesn't look like it, even though it's not fully manifested. what is it about you that makes you that way? And what can others learn from that?
Well, what it was then was God's grace, and what it is now is different because I've been through BE, and now I understand that identifying opportunities means that when your preparation meets God's timing. And even though we're talking about all the good things today, Patrice, I think that there have been many things in my business that, I mean, I was sort of proud of. I'm an opportunist, and that's a good word, you know? That's not a bad word, that's a good word. But now I know that not every opportunity is a good opportunity. And the things we're talking about today, you know, have gone my way, and God has blessed. But now I know that don't do anything that you're not Spirit-led to do. And really be watchful. Pray for revelation and for wisdom of where he's taking you, and then use those gift, skills, and abilities to meet those opportunities as they come.
And with that in mind, let's talk about, along the way, you take biblical entrepreneurship, and it has a tremendous impact in your life. Tell us about that experience and how that shaped.
Well, it was birthed out of pain for 3 years prior. And I've been hearing a lot of people say that, by the way, is that the late 2000s were a time of, 2006, 7, 8. And so we're just a time for a lot of believers of just wandering. And that was it for me, even though I was on book tour and I was having my babies and I was doing all these things. What I found, Patrice, was that I just kept waiting to break out. You know,
I like
to
your
go
line.
big.
You're made for the...
I always like to say, I knew that I was built for the Olympics, but I was stuck in gym class. Have you ever felt like that? That's how I felt. And so I knew that there was more. There had to be more. And I was starting to get frustrated. And then I thought, well, God, are you blocking me? You know, what's going on here? Because I'm your gal. I'm your woman. I always knew my business was from God and for God. It was not for myself. But I just was off in a few areas. In biblical entrepreneurship, we don't have time to go into it. We should do a whole show on it, Patrice. But it really helped me see that although I was extremely close, because remember, Restoring Order is an organizing business. I was in the physical manifestation of my supernatural calling, right? And I was still in doing what I believe God wanted me to do, but I was just off in a few ways. So biblical entrepreneurship was the combine that came through my life and plowed up the soil and really allowed the Spirit to speak into my life and correct a few things to where now I'm a kingdom business and I'm a kingdom businesswoman who wants to kingdomize other businesses.
Wow. Before I ask you the last question, Vicki, you are from Alaska.
Yeah.
If you're there watching right now and they're listening saying, boy, she looks a little like Sarah Palin. Do all Alaskans are brown and articulate and talk?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No.
And know how to make things with their hands.
That's right. We Alaskans are the last frontier, right? We are survivors.
That's right. Vicki, you've done all that, married, 2 children. You earlier alluded to the fact that at a certain point you were pregnant. Women are watching right now, listening, and they're saying, golly, I got children. I desire to have children. I got a husband. How do I do all that? How did you balance it all?
Well, I just have to say that I'm so incredibly blessed because my husband, Trevor, is an enormous support to me. If we're a sword, I'm the blade, but he's the hilt. So he is the strong support that he brings the precision and the security to everything I do. God is alone as my security and my provider, but my husband, I mean, I couldn't do what I do, Patrice, if he was not the one caring for our children. I mean, he literally feeds me. I mean, he really helps me. We're co-laborers in this family business.
Amen.
And I feel extremely grateful for that. And really, I really believe that my calling is outside just the 4 walls. And for every kingdom person out there, your calling, your purpose is beyond just being a mother or a father or a wife or a husband. Our calling is beyond just our nuclear life. God wants to bring heaven to earth, and he wants to do it through you and I. He wants to bring his Spirit here. So, I mean, my children are an incredible blessing. My husband is an incredible blessing. But we all see that we're built for greatness.
And I want to publicly thank you and Trevor for partnering with Gina and I in this work of the kingdom through the Kingdom Business Forum. You guys have been more than just partners. You guys are like family. I'm a little older than you, so I am
Not
the big
much.
brother.
He is my big brother, though.
But Vicki, you have done so well this entire month. This is the last show. What is your closing words to our viewers?
I guess in closing is just that, we've talked about ordering your life physically and spiritually, and shared a little bit about how through God's grace I've been able to do that in my business. But I just mostly want to encourage people to say, if I don't understand what this kingdom is about, if I don't understand my own righteousness, what I'm here to do, figure that out first. Pursue the kingdom, because it's the first thing we lost. It's the first thing we need to pursue.
My Lord.
And to be restored. Because, man, when he recruits you into his service, you have traded your illusions of big for great.
Wow, what a way to close. Vicki, take us home, please. Tell our listeners, you do it so much better.
We want to thank you, Patrice and I, for joining us this January Get Organized Month. We appreciate you listening and viewing. Those of you who see us on the internet, do check us out at our Facebook fan page, facebook.com, Kingdom Business Forum. Thank you and God bless.